Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon,
And I'm Mom.
and welcome back to another video.
Yes, thank you for joining us again today.
Yeah, and before we get started with the video, Mom, how are you doing today?
I am doing just fine, Brandon. How are you doing?
All is well here, and we're back to another season finale.
Yes, we are. Today we're going to talk about Lopez versus Lopez.
Yes, and so this is the finale of its third season titled Lopez versus Lockout.
Yes. And Brandon, let me tell you a little bit about this episode. Throughout the season, we have seen Mayan and Quentin as they have been planning their wedding. And on this particular episode, Mayan accidentally invites her grandmother to the wedding. And this happens to be George's mother. And the second plot that's kind of going on at the same time, Mayan is taking a pregnancy test because she is not sure if she is pregnant. And that, in essence, is the last episode or the season finale, Brandon.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Brandon.
And overall, what did you think about this episode 13 of the season?
You know what, Brandon? I actually like this episode. I really did. I have predicted early on that Mayan would be pregnant. I think I said this for the last season that I kind of foresaw this going to happen. This event happening. But I did like the episode. I thought that, Quentin and Mayan, they were really good together. I liked the grandma. They did have a sentimental scene with George and his mother. But, overall, I thought it was a nicely written episode, and the actors played really well.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. And unfortunately, this season only had 13 episodes instead of the full 22.
Yeah, and I always like Lopez versus Lopez, so I kind of wish they did have the 20-ish episodes that seasons normally have.
Absolutely, and yeah. So within this episode, like you mentioned, we do get to see the sort of fallout with Elsa and just sort of trying to figure out what to do with her. At first, what to do with her about making sure she didn't come to the wedding, but then learning about her mental health condition and trying to figure out what's next in regards to that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not they are finished with this storyline, or whether or not they're going to pick up next season if it does come back. Whether or not they're going to pick up for the next season in regards to George and his mother and the relationship that they have as they try to mend together.
Yeah, so that definitely I think is interesting, but I like that we were able to be introduced to her. I believe that was at the end of episode 11, Lopez versus Memories, where she just sort of reappeared, and we all didn't even know that she was alive.
No, we didn't, and even George looked surprised. So we didn't. The audience was not aware.
And do you think that they effectively were able to use her character and sort of shift the dynamic there?
I think they did, because it actually gives a different dynamic to George also, and so I like that. She was brought in, and if she does come back for the next season, I think they could use her in a way to kind of show as a different dynamic for, a great grandmother, what a great grandmother will do for the grandchildren.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and and I actually want to use a little compare contrast between this and the season 2 finale.
All right, go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, so in the season 2 finale that we'd previously discussed, which was Lopez versus Confessions and Lopez versus George, that we had George sort of face his demons. He had been sober for almost about a year, and he had to have his family forgive him, and he had to forgive himself for his his misgivings that that he had, and really comes to terms with it. But I thought it was interesting that this season we largely were able to move past that. George has forgiven himself, and that he and Mayan are able to work past their differences, and that he wasn't really there for her, to be a better person, but then to be confronted with his mom, who, to his knowledge, had done the same thing to him. I thought was just such an interesting dynamic for George, learning to begin to forgive his own mother, and come to terms with the fact that she's still here.
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic, and they are bringing seriousness to the show itself, which with the first season was not there, and you saw it come through on the second season, especially with his alcoholism, and then you could see it come through, this season with his mother. And so I like that they were able to kind of do that dichotomy and have the comedy, but then they have serious issues at the same time.
Yeah, and I actually would say that season one dealt with this too a little bit differently, but I would say that the whole series has largely towed that line between humor and handling serious topics, and I think the show does it rather well. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you there that they did do it rather well.
Does that perhaps remind you of any other shows?
It does. It does, Brandon. What other shows were you thinking about?
So I was thinking about this because I believe another show that handles this quite well is like The Conners.
Yep, the Connors does, and Roseanne did too. So they do a good job of kind of showing both sides, whereas they could have a serious topic, but at the same time, you're able to not necessarily about the topic smile, but they'll bring something else up for the second storyline, the third storyline, possibly, where you are actually laughing, at that same particular episode.
Yeah, and speaking of that, can we head into our connections a little bit early?
We sure can.
So our connections this week are a little bit different because they are actually all behind the scenes people.
All right, what are our connections, Brandon?
So first of all, the big one is with one of the executive producers, Bruce Helford. He is actually the developer of one of the free developers of The Conners and was an executive producer on The Conners throughout the entirety of its run, alongside season 5 of the original Roseanne and the revived season 10.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Did you have any other connections?
Yes, we do actually.
Okay, what's that?
And so the next connections have to do with the writers. So there are two writers in this episode, both of which we had seen their work before and discussed it. So the first writer is Dan Siner, who wrote the previous season finale, Lopez versus George, that we discussed. The other writer is co-creator of the series, Debbie Wolf, who also helped write Lopez versus George alongside this season premiere, which was Lopez versus Wedding.
Okay, that sounds great, Brandon.
Oh, we still have some more.
Oh, there's more. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and so for the director of this episode, Kelly Park, she directed the episode Lopez vs. George, the last season finale. You can see that they stick with, their writing and directing teams, which for most shows are more on an episodic basis. And she's also was an acting coach for Family Reunion.
Oh, wow. Wow, Family Reunion was not the show that I thought you were talking about. So, yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, and the last one I did want to mention is that for the 13 episodes of this season, while she didn't do this one, 5 of the episodes had a common director.
Oh, who's the common director?
So that common director was Danielle Fishel.
Oh, really? Boy Meets World.
Yeah, and so she did not direct this episode, but she had directed 5 of the 13 episodes that released this season.
Okay, that is so cool. So cool.
So yeah, so those are our behind the scenes connection, and we did have one small connection for in front of the camera, and that is with the actor that plays Quentin. He had previously been in one of the shows that we discussed quite a while ago, and that is The Real O'Neills.
Okay. Wow. Wow. This show just had a lot of connections for us. Brandon, I want to talk a little bit about some of our predictions for next season if it does return. What are your predictions?
Yeah, so my predictions is that they will have to continue to deal with the Elsa situation, but in my predictions, or rather actually my hopes, is I hope that we're able to see the wedding pretty early on.
Yeah, actually, I'm hoping so too. I was hoping that they would do it this season, and so I'm really surprised that they did not. So I hope that they can at least begin the season or somewhere close to it with the wedding. And what else do you see?
Yeah, I definitely think had the show gotten its full 22 episodes, my guess is that the wedding probably would have been episode 22 or the season finale of the season. But my other hope is that we're able to see Mayan sort of progress in her career. We saw earlier that she began the series working at that vet clinic, and now she's working for George. And so I'd like to see a little bit more as to what she does and what she brings in. I feel that either this season or last season, there was a great episode where Mine and Quentin were just sort of trying to figure out their work-life balance, and that Mine works from home, Quentin works at the Apple store. So I'd like to see more of their dynamic, especially ahead of the new baby, like what is that going to look like for them?
No, that sounds good too. Yeah, my predictions had to do, of course, with the wedding and then with the baby also. I'm predicting a girl. I'll just say that. And then, and I'd like to see, and I think what will be interesting is watching the grandparents as they are with them throughout this time period, especially George, because I don't think he was there when Chance was a baby. Um, or at least they did not. They have not emphasized that in the plot, and so I'd love to be able to see George as he is with Mayim as she is pregnant, and then when she does have the baby.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see that. And overall, I just hope that the show is able to continue first and foremost. I mean, because we haven't really heard any news, about the series since the season concluded on February 7th. So definitely wishing the best for the show to continue.
Yep, same here, Brandon. Same here. Yes, for the audience, please let us know what your thoughts are for Lopez versus Lopez.
Yeah, definitely let us know. And I did want to say too that I'd love for a potential next season to show a little bit more of Chance and Churro.
Oh yeah, they are funny connections. Yes, I'd love to see that too.
Yeah, and I love that. Yeah, I love that this season was able to pair up Chance with Oscar because I think that's a really fun connection. Having Oscar as the babysitter. I know the earlier seasons had Oscar more with his best friend George, but I really like him with Chance.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. Let's see. And we thank everybody for watching today.
Yeah, we definitely do.
All right, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great day.
All right, bye bye.